Hello everybody. Today we'll discuss regarding properties of cardiac muscle. In the previous lecture, we have discussed regarding two properties of cardiac muscle. First, that is all or none law. That means when a threshold stimulus is given to cardiac muscle, it will show complete contraction of all cardiac muscle fibers, and if the stimulus is of subthreshold value, it will not show any contraction. But in that we have learned that cardiac muscle has got two syncytium. One is a atrial syncytium, other is a ventricular syncytium. That means if you are giving stimulation to atrial muscle, both atria will contract, ventricle will not contract. And if you are giving stimulation of threshold intensity to ventricular muscle will show contraction, and there is a band of fibrous tissue between atria and ventricle. So conduction is only through specialized conducting tissue. So that again we have learned last time. Apart from cardiac muscle, some are modified to form specialized conducting system, which are the only way of conduction of impulse across the cardiac muscle. So that is SA node, AV node, bundle of His, bundle branches, and Purkinje fiber. So in the last lecture we have learned these two properties of cardiac muscle. First is all or none law, that is because of cardiac syncytium, and that is due to presence of intercalated disc or gap junctions, which helps in transfer of impulse from one cell to other cell, and all are connected to each other, and there is a uniform muscle contraction. Now we'll proceed to the next properties of cardiac muscle. Now as we know that cardiac muscle is an excitable cell, in that specialized conducting system is there, first located in the atria, that is SA node. Now let's see how the basically impulse starts in the intrauterine life. Exactly how it has initiated nobody knows, but proposed theories are there. So in SA node we are having calcium channels. There are two concepts are there according to old concept. Slow sodium channels are there. These are also called as leaky sodium channel, also called as funny sodium channels. But nowadays the concept is changing. Scientists have observed that there are transient calcium channels are there. So there is influx of calcium from outside to inside, and because of influx you can see the potential from -70 will move towards the -40. So there is inflow of calcium. So when calcium goes inside, negativity reduces, it becomes from -70 millivolt to -40 millivolt. Now in the SA node, all these channels are basically voltage gated channels. Means at particular voltage they get open, and at other voltage they get closed. So when voltage becomes -40 millivolt, there is opening of fast calcium channel, so they get open, and there is rapid influx of calcium inside. So that will lead to potential going crossing the zero. So this phase is called as depolarization. So from -60 it will reach to -40. At this, fast channel gets open. So these are the fast calcium channels. Now when the fast calcium channel gets open, while going up, what will happen now? This will lead to opening of potassium channels. On the potassium channels there is outflow. Potassium will come out. So when potassium will come out from the cell, inside will become again negative, because positive ions are coming outside. So potential will come down. So it is called as repolarization. So when repolarization is there, polarity is coming down. Now what happened? This will again lead to opening of again this transient calcium channel get open. So now this cycle will continue. So this is called as action potential. So one will open the other. Initially transient calcium channels are there, they will open the fast calcium channel, and fast calcium channel will lead to opening of fast potassium channel, and this will lead to opening of this. So this cycle continues. So it is called as autorhythmicity. So this potential is called as a pacemaker potential. This is the key which has got initiated in the intrauterine life, and the cycle is now continues till the death. So this is called as autorhythmicity. Automatically the rhythmicity is maintained. One channel will lead to opening of other one. So this is the unique property of cardiac muscle. So it is present in the specialized conducting tissues, and in that SA node generates at the fastest rate. That's why SA node will act as a pacemaker, because it is generating at faster rate, and if it stops, AV node will take over the function. But now in the routine life, in a healthy individual, SA node is having a fastest rate of conduction of impulses, generation of impulse, so that's why it is generating. So this is the unique property, that is autorhythmicity. So these are the three channels which are making opening of each other. So these are all voltage gated channels. Now next what we will see, in the previous lecture we have seen the structure of cardiac muscle. So a typical cardiac muscle will have a sarcolemma. It is having a nucleus, rich mitochondria, sarcoplasmic reticulum, and important things present in the muscle is these are the myofibrils. So we'll see the structure of this myofibril again. It consists of thick and thin filaments. So this is Z line. Now what is this thin filament? Is basically consists of actin, troponin and tropomyosin. So this combination forms the thin filament, and thick filament is this our myosin filaments are there. So this is the close look of a sarcomere, and this is the bunch present in the muscle. Now having a further close look, so these are the thin filaments which consist of actin. This is the actin is the main, which is having a active site for combination with this myosin head. Active sites are normally covered by, you can see the chain called as tropomyosin, and on this a lock is there, that is called as troponin. So thin filament is made up of actin, tropomyosin and troponin, and this myosin heads are there which are angled like this. Now having further close look, these are the thick filaments, myosin heads. Now the myosin head combines with the actin, and there is a bend like this. So because of this they will come near. This is the basically muscle contraction. Length of sarcomere reduces. So this myosin heads pulls the Z lines towards the thin filaments towards each other, and because of this there is a contraction, shortening of a muscle. So this step needs actin for the combination. So ATP, energy is utilized. So ATP is utilized for this, and it is converted back to ADP. So this is the mechanical event. So ATP helps in combination of myosin head with the actin, and there is a power stroke. This is called as a power stroke. From this position it is coming to this position, so it is called as a power stroke. So in this cycle you can see this is the contraction phase. Myosin head is combining with the actin. So now this phase needs contract ATP. That's why this contraction phase is called as the active phase. Active why? Because it needs ATP, energy is burned, energy is needed. So wherever energy is utilized, that phase is called as active. But second phase, the relaxation phase, means there is a detachment of this myosin head from the actin. Again this phase also needs an ATP. So to detach myosin head from the actin, again we need ATP. That's why this relaxation phase is also called as active. So in case of cardiac muscle as well as skeletal muscle, contraction and relaxation both are active. So normally it appears that a contraction I have done, but what about the relaxation? Both are active, because at both phases we need ATP. And apart from that, in relaxation, for one more thing we need a ATP. So muscle cell converts chemical energy into mechanical energy. So this is the chemical thing, ATP, which is converted to ADP, and now we have got a mechanical energy generated, and there's a power stroke and muscle is shortened. So muscle cell converts chemical energy into mechanical energy. Now if you come at cell level, so this is you can see this is the action potential which is traveling along the T tubules, and because of this there is really as action potential is coming, there is opening of ranitidine receptor, and there is a release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now this calcium which is released is basically the key for opening up the lock, that is troponin. So calcium is essential for muscle contraction. Calcium will combine with the troponin, and tropomyosin will get dislocated from the active sites of actin, and sites of actin and myosin are open for the combination. So this is called as excitation contraction coupling. Because of excitation there is release of calcium, and calcium will help in the muscle contraction. So this action potential will lead to muscle contraction. Now once calcium is inside this sarcoplasm of a muscle, now it need to be removed back, and it should go back in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, because unless until calcium is removed, muscle contraction will not stop. So to remove the calcium also we need ATP. So these are calcium magnesium ATPase pump. So this pump will pump back the calcium back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So here again for relaxation, means for relaxation, to remove the calcium from the active sites and bring him back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, we need ATP. So that's why relaxation is again an active process. At two places we are using ATP for muscle relaxation. One is to detachment of myosin head from the actin, in the previous diagram we have seen, and second to pump back the calcium back in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, we need a ATP. So relaxation is again an active process. So at these places we are using the ATP. Now muscle metabolism, normally glucose is there with 2 ATP burn, pyruvate is formed from glycogen also, and ultimately in presence of oxygen, CO2, water and 40 ATP molecules are formed. Now these ATP molecules will be utilized for the muscle contraction. So in presence of oxygen, this is called as Krebs cycle aerobic glycolysis. So this is the routine for any muscle. If oxygen is adequate, there is formation of CO2 and water. Water will be dissolved and CO2 is removed by the respiration, and the events can happen comfortably as the pH is maintained. But if there is a reduced amount of oxygen, what will happen? From the pyruvate it is converted to 2 lactic acid and first 4 ATPs. This is called as anaerobic glycolysis. Lactic acid leads to decline in the pH, which will lead to enzyme inhibition. So anaerobic pathway is a self-limiting, so it will inhibit the enzyme and the contraction will stop. This is basically called as a fatigue. So basically mechanism of fatigue is whenever we are exerting, the skeletal muscle is contracting. After initially maximum oxygen is utilized, but if your contraction continues, where oxygen deficiency starts, we go for anaerobic pathway, and that time because of increase in lactic acid, pH will decline and we stop the muscle contraction automatically. So that is called as fatigue. So basically fatigue in skeletal muscle is because of increased formation of lactic acid and decrease in the pH, that is lead to stopping of muscle contraction in skeletal muscle. But so this is the metabolism of a muscle, from glucose to pyruvate, and in presence of oxygen, which is from the mitochondria, CO2 and water is formed and muscle contraction will take place. And if oxygen is less, it will be fermentation, formation of lactate, and lactate will be self-limiting and muscle contraction will stop. So lactate is a principal thing which leads to muscle fatigue. Now in cardiac muscle, see what is happening. If you remember, I have asked you a question in the last lecture, why the cardiac muscle doesn't go under fatigue. Now let's find the answer. It is very rich in myoglobin, large mitochondria, so that's why exclusively on aerobic respiration to make ATP. Anaerobic respiration is only 1%, so it is not prone to fatigue. So the amount of lactic acid form is very less, as it is only 1% relying on anaerobic respiration. So that's why cardiac muscle is not prone to fatigue. So at rest, heart gets about 60% of energy from fatty acids, 35% from glucose, and 5% from other fuels such as ketones, lactic acid and amino acids. So these are the reasons why cardiac muscle is not prone to fatigue, as it is relying more on aerobic glycolysis. Now let's move forward to other properties of cardiac muscle. We have seen the pacemaker potential, which is due to transit calcium channel, fast calcium channel and fast potassium channels. Now what will happen now? This potential which is generated in the SE node, it will travel to cardiac muscle. Okay, so first we'll go to atria. Now in the atria, after that it will go to the ventricle from AV node. So what happens, let's see. Suppose this is the cardiac muscle. Okay, this electrical spark from SA node is going to cardiac muscle. That will lead to opening of fast sodium channels. Fast sodium channels are open in the cardiac muscle. So once there is entry of sodium from outside to inside, potential will go steep like this. So these are fast sodium channels. So this is called as depolarization. Okay. Now again in the cardiac muscle, there are voltage gated channels. So when there is a depolarization, simultaneously there is opening of calcium channels also. So this calcium channel will again get open. So there is influx of calcium also simultaneously once the potential reaches here. So there is an influx of calcium will go inside. Positivity is there. And simultaneously when calcium are open, there is opening of one more channels which will try to go outside, that is potassium channels. So calcium is going inside and potassium is coming outside. Means positive ions are going inside, positive ions are coming outside. So because of this, potential remains stable. So now this phase is called as a Plateau phase. Are you getting this? So here calcium is going inside and potassium is coming outside. So these are the slow calcium channel and potassium channels. And after some time what happens now? This channel closes. Potassium channel closes, means inside going stops and potassium channel continues. So because of this, what happens now, as potassium is going outside continuously, potential will come down. So this is called as repolarization. So these are the three important events in a cardiac muscle. First phase, this is the depolarization caused by fast sodium channel depolarization, and this Plateau phase, which is because of influx of calcium and outflux of potassium. That's why potential remains at this level. So it is called as a PEEP, that is Plateau phase. And after some time, the calcium channel closes. So influx stops, outflux continues. So this phase, potassium as going on, this is called as repolarization. So this is called as a Plateau phase. And because of this, we cannot give second stimulation to the cardiac muscle, as it has sodium channel will not get open unless until potassium comes down up to this phase. So that's why this is called as a long refractory period. Okay. So let's see in this now. So these are the conducting tissues of heart. Sinoatrial node, SE node. This is the right atrium, superior vena cava, left atrium. So fast sodium inflow will lead to depolarization, slow sodium calcium inflow, potassium outflow about 5 folds, slow potassium outflow. This will lead to Plateau phase, and slow calcium sodium channel closes, potassium outflow continues rapidly, that is called as repolarization. So now in this diagram you can see these are the pacemaker potentials which will lead to generation of potential in this cardiac muscle. So you can see from like this it is going. Okay, so this is the cardiac muscle potential which is visible. In the subsequent diagram you can see here, now you can see clearly this is minus 80 millivolt in the cardiac muscle. This is due to rapid sodium channel, that is called as depolarization. This phase, sodium calcium inflow and potassium outflow, Plateau phase. And this phase, and this is the absolute refractory period, because unless the potential reaches here, fast sodium channel will not open again. So that's why cardiac muscle has got a long refractory period, and you can see this is the contraction phase. Means once there is a excitation of cardiac muscle, this will lead to release of calcium. Calcium will go inside. It will open the lock of troponin. Tropomyosin will move. Active sites of actin are exposed, and myosin will combine with actin, and this is the muscle contraction. This is the contraction phase. After that, there is a relaxation phase. So this contraction phase is falling up to this. So that's why if the undescended potential reaches here, means major part of relaxation of cardiac muscle is over, we will not have a second stimulus. So that's why if you are giving a continuous stimulation to the cardiac muscle, electrical stimulation, it will contract only when potential reaches here, means some relaxation is there. That's why cardiac muscle shows incomplete tetanus. If you give a continuous stimulation to the cardiac muscle, it will not show continuous contraction, because the other impulses, for example, I'm giving stimulation here at this phase, here, it will not show contraction. But when my stimulus is falling here, then only second contraction will come like this. So that's why cardiac muscle demonstrate the property of incomplete tetanus, that is again due to long refractory period. So this cardiac muscle action potential. So these are the properties. Excitability means ability to generate action potential. So when you are giving stimulation to the cardiac muscle, it will show action potential, that is called as property of excitability. Then long refractory period, it is because of presence of sodium calcium inflow and potassium outflow, and because of this it is showing incomplete tetanus, and there is a conduction of impulse across the cardiac muscle. So these are the conducting tissues of the heart. Now this is the bundle of His. Now it is the only thing which can conduct the impulse from atria to the ventricle. So if this is blocked, heart will show distorted contraction. Impulse will not reach the ventricle. So these are the conducting tissues which are conducting the impulse across the cardiac muscle. So now this is very, very important. This is the AV bundle branch. So from here impulse is coming and going to the ventricle. So if this is blocked, that is called as a heart block. So the heart block means basically there is a stoppage of conduction of impulse from SC node, from AV node to the ventricle. So impulse will not reach the ventricle. So that is called as, so there are categories of heart block. Partial heart block, in which there is a slow conduction of impulse from atria to the ventricle. Incomplete and complete heart block. So in complete heart block, atria and ventricle both are separate, and there is no conduction of impulse across the bundle branches. So these are the bundle things. So mind well, heart block means it is not a block of any vessel. It is block of conduction of impulse from this. So in ECG we'll see P wave and QRS complex are dissociated. So if P wave is because of atria and QRS complex because of ventricular depolarization. So we will say dissociated. There is no QRS complex after every P wave in that condition. So just to summarize what properties we have learned up till now of the cardiac muscle. Property we have learned is all or none law. In the previous lecture, it is because of cardiac syncytium and because of gap junctions in the heart. Then heart is having property of autorhythmicity, which is because of transient calcium channel. Then cardiac muscle is not prone to fatigue. It is due to, as I mentioned, because of aerobic glycolysis. Then we have learned excitability of cardiac muscle, long refractory period, incomplete tetanus, and conductivity. So here we are finishing properties of cardiac muscle. Thank you.